Leaders debate analysis. The leaders of Ontario's main parties have just wrapped up after 90 minutes on the debate stage, and there were some heated moments as they challenged each other's ideas and platforms. We're going to bring you some of those highlights over the next 30 minutes and break down some of the key moments with our expert political panel. Let's bring them in. And first, you know them well here on CHCH, our political analyst Keith Leslie, who's with us via Skype tonight. Our Queen's Park producer Randy Rath is here in our new CHCH studios, and someone new will be joining us throughout the half hour. University of Toronto political science professor Sylvia Beshevkin will be speaking with all of our guests at different times throughout the show, so we will connect with Sylvia in just a moment. But first, let's start things off with Keith. Now, Keith, what are your first thoughts? We had 4 very seasoned politicians taking part in this debate, but this was a first for Green Party leader Mike Schreiner. Was there a clear winner?
No, I think they all did what they had to do when they set out at the beginning of this. You know, Ford stuck to his message, and he didn't get thrown off by all the attacks. We knew they were going to attack him. Stephen Del Duca, he kept introducing himself to people. I think we learned specifically that he has 2 daughters. He also got very defensive about his record with Kathleen Wynne's Liberal government. Horvath, interestingly enough, targeted Del Duca as much as she targeted Doug Ford. And Mike Schreiner, as you said, it was his first debate, and he came across as we expected him to, very reasoned, very calm, and he made some very good points as well.
Now, Randy, you said earlier that this debate was a race for second place. Do you stand by that?
Yes, absolutely I do. I think that Mr. Schreiner won the debate. I think he seemed to be the most reasoned. He presented the best, most progressive answers to any of the questions. And I think that Mr. Ford, he didn't lose the debate. Mr. Ford maintained calm, and he appeared to be apologetic for things that he had done wrong, and he appeared to be somebody that could continue to lead this province.
That is very important. Now, as we mentioned, we are going to show you some of the exchanges during the next half hour between the Premier, and we're going to start with one between the Premier and Del Duca, this one on the pandemic. Let's take a look.
No doubt in my mind, the people of Ontario have an exceptional capacity to rise to the occasion of a challenge. But I want to understand better, I think people at home do as well, why when the science table told you in February 2021 to not reopen so rapidly, why did you choose to do so? And then why did you tell little kids like my own daughters that they couldn't go to playgrounds and that police should have more power to card, trample on charter rights indiscriminately? Why was that your solution in the midst of that moment of crisis? Why? Why then? Why then?
Mr. Del Duca, as I said earlier on, folks, was everything perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. But if there was an issue, I'll get it up there. I made the change. I apologize. But
playgrounds and police.
Let's just talk about that for a minute,
and police.
Mr. Del Duca. For 2.5 years, literally 24/7, I was working on this pandemic. It's easy to sit back from the sidelines when you didn't have to make the tough decisions that I had to make and criticize. You have the easiest job if you just sit there and criticize.
Mr. Ford, respectfully, Mr. Ford, respectfully, this is the job that you signed up for 4 years ago. You asked for people to support you 4 years ago. You ran to be Premier. You must accept responsibility.
Very good. You've both made your points.
All right, so let's bring in our political science professor, Sylvia Beshevkin. Sylvia, what's your take on what we just saw? As the incumbent, the Premier, of course, his feet being held to the fire. Do you agree with Keith Leslie? Do you think the Premier was both apologetic or was he more defensive?
Look, I think any incumbent is likely to be defensive about the record because, of course, there were 3 opposition parties there that were pretty clear in their criticisms of his government. I do think that Del Duca got off some important points after that, where he talked about missing 82% of the question periods in the legislature, and that does speak to exactly where the Premier was in the last 4 years.
Randy, what are your thoughts? Did the Premier appear too prepared, too defensive, too apologetic, or just the right amount?
During that exchange, I think that the Premier appeared to say things that the public would believe. I mean, Mr. Ford held a press conference essentially every day for almost a year, talking to the public about the pandemic. And when he did make a mistake, he would admit it and he would draw back the policy that they just implemented. I mean, it was a big mistake to tell the police to pull over people to see where they were off to in their cars, because they didn't pull it back until the police chief said, no, there's no way we're going to do that. But I think that exchange showed Mr. Ford being reasonable in that he was saying to the public, you know, I worked really, really hard on this. Nobody expected a pandemic to happen. But what I thought the funniest part of that exchange was the Green Party leader going, oh, everybody just calm down. Let's calm down here.
Certainly took the placating sort of position there. And we are going to take a look at a couple more of the more heated exchanges. This one between Doug Ford and Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca, followed by another between Ford and NDP leader Andrea Horwath.
Del Duca, I just want to remind you, under yourself and the former Premier Kathleen Wynne, you destroyed them. The economy was going downhill quicker than the Canadian bobsled team. It just continued going down. 300,000 jobs left this province. That's 300,000 people couldn't pay their rent, couldn't pay their mortgage, couldn't put food on the table because of your terrible policies. You want to bring back the license plate stickers, as you did, and you raised it every single time. You want to increase the tolls like you did before on the 412 and 18. You actually, it was your tolls. So,
OntarioLiberal.ca.
And we're going to cut, Mr. Del Duca, we're going to cut the gas tax. You're all in favor of hiking the gas tax. You're in favor of the carbon tax. We aren't.
Oh my goodness.
We're the only the only party that's going to cut taxes, put more money back into your pockets. We're creating an economy that is thriving right now with 550,000 jobs and 338,000 in the waiting.
All right, Mr. Del Duca,
look,
please.
you know, there's an old saying in life: you're entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts, Mr. Ford. And the truth of the matter is, you need to stop reading the script that looks like it came out of the fiction section. The people of Ontario are fed up with your slogans and your empty words. They want real action.
You want to talk about the hardworking men and women that build?
Let him finish.
You know, Ms. Horwath, for years, the union supported you. Well, guess what? The Boilermakers don't support you. Leona doesn't support you anymore, and the electrical workers don't support you. You've lost touch. You're out of touch with the hardworking men and women.
I think you need to look in the mirror, Mr. Ford.
All right, so I moved over to our couch set now to speak to Randy Rath. A couple of really interesting exchanges there, starting with Ford telling Del Duca that his party destroyed the economy. Was that fair?
Not entirely, but...
I mean, how long can we now equate him with the Wynne government?
Well, I think it's absolutely fair to equate him with the Wynne government. He sat at the cabinet table when a lot of Wynne's decisions were made. And Ms. Wynne herself has said that she really regrets that she didn't put more money into healthcare and that they considered it a cost to be maintained. But as far as that, the first exchange there, I thought that it was one of the times when Mr. Del Duca really scored some points, because Mr. Ford, it's not factual that Mr. Del Duca is going to start making us pay for our license plate stickers, and that he's going to, not lower the gas tax. He's bought in to those policies that Mr. Ford has presented to the public.
That's true. Let's bring back Keith Leslie. As Randy correctly mentioned, Del Duca did step up and point out some inconsistencies with what Ford was saying. What do you make of how he responded?
Well, I thought Mr. Del Duca tried to score some points, but he also looked pretty awkward as Mr. Ford, as is his wont, just stuck to his talking points. We know he had a binder in front of him, and he was using that binder to, prompt his points. And he fought back hard. Mr. Ford came out strongly against Del Duca's things and pointed out his close ties to the Wynne Liberal government. He was a cabinet minister. As Randy pointed out, he was around the cabinet table. So while Mr. Del Duca made some points that, Ford's facts may be iffy, and he has indeed, Mr. Del Duca has bought into these Ford policies because he won't undo that license plate rebate. He's afraid to undo that. He's afraid to bring that license plate fee back in again. So I thought that they both looked kind of awkward there, really. But Mr. Ford looked the most comfortable because, again, he's sticking to his message. He's not losing his cool at all. And he keeps saying, we're the ones that are going to build things. All those other parties, they're just going to tax you.
He certainly did come across as an experienced debater, having had the privilege of doing this 4 years ago. Well, we do have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will take a look at what the leaders had to say about a number of different issues. We're back after this quick break.
Thursday's date night movie. An ageless woman rediscovers the power of love in the romantic drama The Age of Adeline, presented by The Brick. With the wrong mattress, you never really get out of bed. At the Brick Mattress Store, you'll get the right mattress guaranteed.
You may call us a tad unconventional. A bunch of wonderfully wild and colorful individuals. People who really do give a hoot about animals. Perhaps we are a little extreme, a little out there, or way out there. And yes, we do fuss over every small detail, but that's what makes us, us. Welcome to Uncommon.
Great apple bubbly party.
Partay for new apple buble.
Yeah, apple bubbly.
Buble.
That's right, bubbly.
Buble. New apple buble.
It's bubbly.
Here for a short time, but a great time.
Think about it. Friday night, you go out, you make a lot of bad decisions. But then Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m., you wake up, you watch Make Money Count, and you start making amazing decisions about what you're going to do with your mortgage.
I'm Nicole Martin, the proud ambassador for the Comfort Bear program. Comfort Bears provide these cuddly bears to local children who are terminally ill, facing trauma, or battling a serious illness. Every $20 donation will place a Comfort Bear into the loving arms of a child involved in our program. It is our hope to distribute 1,000 bears in 2022. Please join us and provide comfort to kids in their time of need.
Ontario Liberal plan will invest $1 billion over 2 years so that we have MRIs and CT scans that are running full tilt, so that we have operating rooms that are operating on weekends, evenings, all the way through to clear that backlog. Because right now, if you need prostate surgery in this province, only 30% are able to get it on time. That's not good enough in a province like ours.
We
have to repeal Bill 124.
For all kinds of procedures.
Again, Ms. Horvath, respectfully, we're not here tonight to fight the 2018 election all over again.
There are new
challenges facing
you left a wreck behind you,
listen,
and you have to step up and take some responsibility for that, Mr. Del Duca.
There are new challenges.
Where were you when all these decisions were being made? Were you out getting a coffee at the cabinet table?
Ms. Horvath,
let him finish.
And welcome back. Let's bring in our political science professor, Sylvia Beshevkin. Sylvia, there was a lot of interesting debate on this topic. And again, as Randy mentioned earlier, it is pretty hard for Del Duca to try to disassociate himself from the Wynne government. Did he do a good job of that?
Look, I think all the leaders did a reasonably good job. I think that Del Duca did try and talk about himself as a father of 2 daughters, someone who lives in Vaughan. He's trying to relate to a suburban vote that often goes to the progressive conservatives. So you know what? I think he was pretty good on his feet. This is his first time as a leader in a major Ontario debate. So you know what? I think he acquitted himself well. But then again, I don't think that there was a knockout punch that any single leader was able to land tonight.
Randy, what are your thoughts on this? Because prior to this election campaign, a lot of people didn't even know, couldn't name the Liberal leader. And bit by bit, we're learning more about his family, sort of a personal connection to him. Do you think he was successful in getting people to learn who the real Stephen is?
Well, as Keith said earlier, I think that what the people have learned is that Mr. Del Duca has 2 daughters. I mean, his delivery seemed very monotone to me. I didn't see him give any reason to for people to vote for him, other than he's going to spend a whole bunch of money, supposedly. And I think that Doug Ford owes Andrew Horvath thanks for attacking and doing his job of attacking the second place candidate, who is Mr. Del Duca.
Sylvia, let's talk to you again and bring you back in. Has there been any sort of consensus on who battled it out for the number 2 spot between Del Duca and Andrew Horvath?
Well, look, that might have been settled in the Stanley Cup playoffs when we saw the Conservative ad attacking the NDP so directly. I think the opposition parties tonight the 3 of them positioned themselves as, parties that could work together, that wanted to show that they had a cooperative leadership style. So if people are concerned about, well, what happens if there's a split and the Conservatives don't get a majority, that the 3 of them could bring together some kind of workable government. So I think that was one aim that we haven't talked about too much, that those opposition leaders had, that they probably were pretty effective at getting across tonight.
That is true, and we did hear Del Duca say earlier that he would be open to a coalition government, so interesting to see how things played out in that respect. Now, there was another interesting exchange between the Green Party leader and PC leader Doug Ford. Let's take a look.
We'll roll out the red carpets for the Amazons of the world and the big box stores of the world. But when it comes to supporting local farmers, he'll pave over their farmland, hurting our economy. When it comes to protecting us from flooding and the climate change, he'll pave over the wetlands that clean our drinking water and protect us.
Mr. Schreiner, if it was up to you and up to the three of you, you wouldn't build nothing. You would rather
build transit.
protest.
I'd build transit.
Protest
I'd build housing.
Then
I'd
get
build
the roads built.
I'd build public infrastructure.
So
I'd
listen,
build schools.
I just want to be clear.
I'd build hospitals.
I just want to.
And let's bring Keith Leslie back in. This was an interesting exchange, Keith. Mike Schreiner proving that he's not just a one-trick pony. He wasn't just talking about environmental issues today, despite Doug Ford saying that he's not interested in building anything. He did get a chance to really answer and make his platform clear. How do you think his performance rounded out tonight?
Well, I thought he probably had the strongest performance overall. Unfortunately, he's very unlikely to be voted premier on June the 2nd. But yeah, he was bang on. I thought he had the most direct questions for Doug Ford, and he scored one when he looked right at the camera, looking right at Ford, and he said, "Have you talked to a nurse lately? Because your policies, including the 1% wage cap and everything else, are exactly the opposite sort of way they should be treated during a pandemic." I think Schreiner was really strong there. And when Ford said, all you want to do is tax, you're against building everything, and Schreiner was bang on, coming right back very quickly. The Greens have a very wide, broad platform. It covers a heck of a lot more than just climate change and the environment, including housing. They've got a great housing plan. And when he said, "I'm going to build hospitals, I'm going to build houses, I'm going to build infrastructure," he was there able to counter Ford very effectively. To the previous clip, if I could speak to it for just a second, I thought it was very interesting that, as Andrea Horwath goes after Mr. Del Duca, he came back with, every time Andrea Horwath and the NDP attack me, Doug Ford smiles, and he does.
Well, Randy, let me get your insights on this, because as well as Schreiner performed, you got to wonder how different his platform is between that of the NDP's. Has he been able to differentiate himself enough?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mr. Schreiner is absolutely not left-wing. He's very much a right-wing, economically, politician. But I think that he was really the surprise of the night. His performance was remarkably good, and he spoke with compassion. He knows his topics. He knows his policies. He understood the assignment tonight. He knew what he had to do in this debate.
Do you agree with Sylvia? No knockout punches from any of the leaders tonight?
No, there were no knockout punches. And as I said earlier, I don't see any reason why any voter would change their mind as to who they were going to speak to based on the debate tonight.
Interesting. Well, we do have to take another quick break, but we'll be back with more highlights after this.
Friday nights at 9. True crime. Cinematic. Real-life drama. Stunning. The unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True Crime 2020. Fridays at 9 on CHCH.
Hello, I'm Russell Oliver, and I am the cash man. Bring me your used jewelry, and I will give you cash. Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah! Committing to the planet. It will take a dedicated force of plant-based ambassadors.
Ambassadors? I just like it in my smoothie.
I guess it doesn't always have to be a statement. It can also just be good. Silk. Plants for all.
No matter what the future brings, at Canada Protection Plan, we want you to feel secure and your loved ones to be financially protected. Whether you're in great health or have health issues, whether you're younger or older, you can apply for no medical life insurance in under 15 minutes from the comfort of your home. That means no medical exams. We also provide no medical critical illness insurance. And don't forget, your payments don't start until the second month. With up to $750,000 for no medical and up to $1 million on all of our other life insurance plans, compare us and see that our rates are among the lowest. Contact your advisor or call us now for a no-obligation quote. 1-877-481-9090. Canada Protection Plan, a Forester's financial company. Simply peace of mind.
How would you like to receive a money transfer without leaving home? All you have to do is contact oliverjewelry.ca to sell your gold, diamonds, watches, and handbags, and we will send you the courier packaging free. Oh, yeah.
And welcome back. We are coming to the end of our post-debate analysis, so with just a little time left, we want to get some final thoughts from our guests, starting with Keith Leslie. Earlier in our program, we did show an exchange between Ford and I believe it was Horvath, with Ford telling her that she was out of touch. Do you remember that clip, and what are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I remember that clip. I remember that moment during the debate, because Ford, you know, he's had the endorsement, the Progressive Conservatives and Doug Ford specifically have had the endorsements lately of several big unions in Ontario, and he loves that. And of course, he loves to use that to rub it in the NDP's face, because the NDP used to, of course, be able to count on union support. And he was absolutely just rubbing that right in, just saying, you know what? You're out of touch. The unions want nothing to do with you. They're supporting me because we're going to build things. And again, back to his message, and all you want to do is raise taxes on people. So I thought that exchange was really telling, but I thought Ford came out ahead in it.
Now, Horvath did scoff at that, but there was some merit to those points. Randy, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that Mr. Ford has a very good point. I mean, people who've covered a lot of campaigns, as Keith and I have, traditionally, the unions would do anything they could to keep a conservative government from taking power. So he really does have a point, and they have put a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort into, you know, training tradespeople, cozying up to the unions, with the hope of moving the economy forward. Like, we have a real problem in this province where there's not enough skilled tradespeople to fill all the jobs that they're there to build our growing economy.
Did Andrea Horvath's experience as an NDP leader show, because this is what, her fourth term?
Well,
and what's next? Like, let's say she doesn't gain more votes, more seats, pardon me, this time around.
Well, I don't think, if Andrea doesn't come out as premier, she may stay on as the MPP, but I really doubt that she will. I think that she will be forced out by her party if she doesn't voluntarily leave. And I mean, her experience does show, but she also is attacking Mr. Del Duca, and they're fighting over, you know, second place. So it's not as if she's even, you know, realistically attempting to become premier. I think she knows that that's not going to happen at this point.
Let me bring in Sylvia one last time. Sylvia, do you agree this is a fight for second place, given what you've seen in this debate and throughout this campaign?
Not necessarily. You know what? I think, you know, Mr. Ford was able tonight to avoid the two things that really affect voters, which is when he gets very sweaty and belligerent. He didn't go that way, and so that was good for the Conservatives. But at the same time, I think Andrea Horvath held her own against the three other leaders. She was optimistic and upbeat. She ran against the type that the Conservatives are trying to hang on her, which is she's very negative, and they call her, you know, negative and negative no NDP. I thought the other two introduced themselves, and that was a success for them. So I'm not at all sure that that this is as much of a cakewalk, because we don't exactly know how many people are going to turn out to vote, and we don't know how discussions about tonight's debate may affect people between now and when the polls open in a few days for advance voting.
Now, Randy, this is the point where people start to tune in, really pay attention, unlike the first debate. As far as this debate goes, do you think anyone is going to change their mind if they were prone to voting one way or the other, based on the performances tonight?
Not really. I think that Mr. Ford has emerged unscathed out of this. I think that Mr. Schreiner was the surprise of the evening, in that he performed really, really well, and he seemed to make sense. Mr. Ford did rely on jargon, and Mr. Del Duca seemed to know his files the best. But I don't think there's anything that will change people's votes because of this debate.
Sylvia, you said no knockout punches. Do you agree with Randy? Do you think Schreiner was the real surprise tonight?
Well, I certainly think that when people go into any kind of social interaction with no expectations, and the fact that they end up being capable is really a huge boost. So I think that, with the one seat, Mike Schreiner has had a huge impact at Queen's Park. He talked a lot about it tonight. And I think he, in that sense, really will have made an impression on people who didn't know about him, didn't know about the party, and this would have been their first exposure. So yes, I do think that has an impact. Whether it translates into seats, though, is another question. For people who really want to defeat the Conservatives, I'm not sure how many of them are going to vote for the Greens.
Now, Randy, let's talk about Horwath, because as opposition leader, your job is to poke holes in the leader's performance and their policies. But is she more than just that? Is she more than just a critic? Do you think she proved that to the audience tonight?
Well, I think that Ms. Horwath has had the potential to lead the province, to be the premier for the last 3 elections, and it's. I don't think we really learned a whole lot more about Ms. Horwath from this debate than most people had known. I think that generally people are either going to vote for the NDP or they're not. And I don't think that there's going to be a lot of change. I think that the change is going to be between who becomes the official opposition, whether Mr. Del Duca can pull it off or Ms. Horwath can pull it off.
All right. We are running out of time. I want to send things over to Keith for your final thoughts. What are your overarching thoughts after watching this?
Well, if this is a race for second place for becoming opposition leader, that's a huge win for Stephen Del Duca. That would be a big loss for Andrea Horwath. So the election for her is do or die.
Do or die. All right. Thanks so much, Keith. And that concludes our post-debate coverage tonight. Remember, Election Day is June the 2nd, and we invite you to join us on that day for our special Your Home, Your Vote election broadcast. Nicole Martin, Phil Perkins, and I will kick off our live coverage at 8 p.m. and include reports from the campaign headquarters of the main parties, as well as some key local ridings. We'll also bring you analysis from our political panel experts. Until then, you can tune into our newscasts for continued coverage of the campaign. And remember, you can always stream us live via website or our YouTube channel. Thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. We're back at 11. Good night.